I'm Don Labonte, the sweet potato breeder, and we basically have a 12-month program developing new varieties of sweet potato. And it starts out with our crossing nurseries. I don't have one really where you can see right now, but we have a one-row nursery right over here. And we also have one we're going to pass as we loop around with the hay wagons, and you'll see that. Each one of these nurseries, and we have 8 of them, most of them are in Baton Rouge because we get a longer fall, and sweet potatoes just don't want to set true seed until it gets cool and short days. We may see flowers, but they just are not going to produce any true seeds in this type of temperature. And so different nurseries have different goals. We have 2 nurseries. They're specifically aimed at developing resistance to guava root knot nematode, as well as southern root knot nematode. That's an initiative that we have in partnership with North Carolina State University. We also have a nursery of our own doing the same thing. And then we have others. We have one that's just kind of what I call my thoroughbred nursery. It's got all our very best parents to produce that very next best variety that you want to grow. And then we have other nurseries that are more specific. One of them is a purple flesh nursery where we're developing lines for that, as well as white flesh. So we got a lot of different nurseries for different purposes, and that's something that we then harvest the seed in the fall, and we may get 35,000, 40,000 true seeds. And what we're going to do is bring those up to the station at the end of December, and those are going to be planted in the greenhouse. Now, they're not going to go in as plants, they're going to grow in as true seeds, and these are little black BB-size seeds. And we're going to plant those in the benches at the same spacing that you see that we do our regular propagation materials that we went through earlier. And we're going to grow those all winter long. We'll cut them back, and actually we're trying to produce a small radish-sized root on each one of those plants. What's cool about that is if we cut it open, it's going to be indicative of the color of the mature storage root. So if it's kind of a faded yellow, we pitch it. You know, if it's kind of an orange and white, no good. So we're going to save those that we like, which is probably going to get rid of at least a third of those. And a third of those plants, this is in early May, we're going to go put out in a plot. You can see the remnants of that over here in this field. It's the only sweet potatoes out there. And we're going to allow those to grow until we get a bushel, a nice bunch of vines. And then we're going to take 5 plants from each one of those, and that's what you see right here. So this represents 5 plant plots from each one of those initial single plants. And we started doing this, oh my gosh, probably 25 years ago, because we really found that we were able to do a better job at identifying those really elite materials versus things that are just as a single hill, which was a lot less reliable. And so we're able to basically cut back on the number that we end up saving from here. So you can see this massive field, we're probably only going to save around 150 to 200 out of there. So the chance of making it into a box, into our storage, is almost like a lottery. It just does not happen. And so we really know these are good materials. So this field was planted in July, which is not a good time to be planting sweet potatoes in Louisiana. And we're probably going to harvest this probably right the first part of November. And we've actually seen snow on top of this field in the past. So if it can make it through all that, it's probably pretty good. And so, you know, we view this as a really harsh test to come up with that next newest, greatest variety. From there, we're going to store those, and it's going to be down, and then we're going to bed those out. And that's where we then take those right to the farm. We want to see how well they perform. And so that's where your cooperation as growers, allowing us to come in, put out our research plots so that we can test these materials, it's a big deal because that really helps us identify those superior lines. After 2 years, we got that down to about 15. So the chance of making it is almost zero, but those few that make it through that process are pretty interesting, you know. And so that's the kind of the short of our breeding program. The Louisiana the Sweet Potato Commission funds a lot of our work. That money is always used every year to support the travel and the putting out these research plots, paying for student labor, so it's essential to our existence. One thing I do want to mention is that we do all kinds of double dip stuff. So we got all these different genotypes. And so we're going to come in after this is done and spray with permit before we harvest to see if we have any materials that are resistant so that we can have material, a genotype or a variety, that we can use that liberally and to help control the nut sedge. So if we can control nut sedge, have a variety that's also tolerant to permit, because it really can burn back a plant. So it's like, do I want to use it or do I not want to use it? Because I'm going to kill the nut sedge, but sweet potatoes, they get irritated very much. And so that's the kind of thing that we do when we have masses of plant material, that we can go in, test it, and see if we can flag a couple of those real special lines that have resistance. We would not have a sweet potato breeding program if it was not for this fantastic crew we have here. They do a great job. The amount of labor that goes into putting this together, I don't know how many days this took to plant this out in absolutely the worst possible temperatures. And you know what? They delivered and got it in all neat, all good, and couldn't be more proud of the work that they do. Avoyles is our newest release. And what we really like about it, it's a 90-day potato, really is. We had a grower this year, harvested a 700 bushel per acre crop at the end of July. That's almost unheard of. So if you're looking for earliness, Avoyles has got it. It's really a great variety. It's both fresh market and also processing. Makes a great French fry product. One of the things with Avoyles though is we are starting to see a few of those details about it that, you know, we like and don't like. One of those is it does like to be pre-sprouted, and that's the process where you take the roots, you warm them up before you bed them out in the ground. Those bedded roots produce plants, and that's what we put our crop out with. Those roots really need a good warm up to generate those plants. The other thing we found this year is that we had both good and bad with producers as far as the plant beds. Some of them look great, some of them not so good. The ones that didn't look so good, we really got to looking at carefully, okay, how did you go about bedding these? And we found that when they were roughly handled, these roots were just mostly treated like rocks. They didn't perform well. They broke down in the plant beds. But when they were carefully handled, they did just fine. And this is a great, and the reward is you really get a nice quality plant. It's really nice, thick stem, holds up well even if you're dry and hot. What we really like about it, it's really top notch. Well, even with that issue with the plant beds, still got a real positive response from a number of growers. They really like how it's performing, the yield, and it also stores real well. They're not seeing a lot of sprouting, which they get with the Bayou Belle, which is a major processing variety. So they do see a lot of benefits to this variety, and it looks like it's got to go. So it will have a fit. It's not going to take over the whole industry. This is a hill of Avoyles at 60 days. That's just an amazing size for 60 days. And what we're going to see is that 90 days, those are going to be ready to harvest. It's amazing. So if you're looking for a 90-day potato, Avoyles is the right variety. This is it. This is where we determine if we've got a new variety or we need to start all over again. The best way to do that is actually to go to the farms and try it out right here under those conditions that they grow sweet potatoes in. This is where we find that new next variety is on the farm. Absolutely, it's like searching for buried treasure, and it actually is. This is our newest line, 1920. When we grade this out, it's amazing the yield on it. And so we know we're onto something. And it's a red skin, which really shines up beautifully if you get all that dirt off of it. Really nice yields, delicious flavor. And we're going to be releasing that coming up here real shortly. With this bright orange flesh and fluffy texture, it's a sure thing. After we finished all the plots we harvested this season, we came back to this one we saw at Garber Farms, 1920. Beautiful red skinned potato, nice shape, nice yield, and you know what? We're going to be releasing this as a variety. We found that it looks good in heavy soils, sandy soils. It's got some nematode protection, which is a major pest that we find with sweet potatoes. Great flavor, and we're going to call it Rouge. You know, we start out with tens of thousands of potential new varieties every year, but only just a couple of them make it to that end point where we want to release it and get it to you, the consumer. This 1920 is one of those where we found it to be exceptional in so many of our different research plots this past season. It's got a beautiful red skin, nice shape, and the yield is really good in both heavy soils and also nice sandy, light textured soils. So this is something that we were very, very excited about, and we're going to be releasing this year and calling it Rouge.